Hi, everyone, and welcome to this masterclass session. And I'm so excited to introduce you to our speaker today, Becky Walsh. Becky is a sought after speaker and has appeared at the world renowned seminar I Can Do It, as well as being a coach and script editor for TEDx speakers. Becky has a degree in interdisciplinary studies from California Institute of Integral Studies in San Francisco and is a qualified life coach. Becky has a private practice and as intuitive catalyst in London, Bristol, Western Supermare. Is that right? Is that
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well done.
yeah, yeah, and worldwide online, since we're all in the world that we're living right now, this pandemic world, lockdown world. Becky has a practice online done remotely over Zoom. Becky, and you are also, I wanted to mention that you are also an author of 4 self-help books, right?
Yeah. So my favourite of which is on intuition. So it's how we know what we know, because we have a brain in the gut and a brain in the heart. And most people don't realise, we just think we've got a brain in the head. But the brains in those two areas also have a vagus nerve. They have neurons. They're amazing. So it's really about trusting yourself. So the book is out with Hay House. And it's called You Do Know, Learning to Act on Intuition Instantly. Although I am working on, it's funny when people say that they're working on another book, you end up working on another book inside of your head for ages before you put anything on a page. So I'm working on another book, but don't ask to look at my notes. It's all up here, but I'm getting there. It's coming.
Wonderful. I love that idea about like different brains that we have, brain in the heart, brain in the gut, brain in our head. Because I'm actively studying hypnotherapy. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, but I'm studying even more and more hypnotherapy tools. And just recently with one of my trainers, she was teaching us the trance techniques, like deep trance techniques. And one of the deep trance techniques was connecting to the brain in our heart, and then in our gut, and then thinking, like connecting with all three of our brains. I was like, interesting, wow. So there is something to it. We would never think that to like having a brain in our heart, and especially brain in our gut. I would never think that, but we can say that there is
Yeah,
yeah.
medically so. And I think it really, as we're talking about anxiety and relationships,
Yeah.
I think it's key. I think it's really key, because a lot of the things that go on in our head, around, do they like me? Am I good enough? Am I funny enough? Am I thin enough? Am I, all of the I'm not enough stuff. And actually that all comes from our limbic brain. We have the Neanderthal limbic brain that is deliberately there in order to help us fit into a tribe. So we don't realize that, that there's supermarkets and other things. And we still have this idea that if we don't fit into the tribe, we're going to be kicked out in the cold, killed by a saber-toothed cat. So when it comes to procreation and family and all of that kind of thing that we're trying to create, or not, or trying to avoid, which has always been my case, but all of that, there's a huge amount of anxiety that goes with that. But quite often listening to the brain in your heart means that you don't underestimate yourself, but also don't judge the person that you would like to be in relationship with by your past and the things that have hurt you before. Because it's very easy with the brain in your head, and especially the subconscious mind, and you would totally know this from having done hypnotherapy, from studying hypnotherapy, that the subconscious mind still wants to protect us from traumas that have happened in the past. And this is why we replay thoughts over and over in our head to say, what could we have done better? How could we avoid this from happening? So that's how PTSD works. So one of the things that when you're starting to listen to your gut instinct, I think the whole reason I wrote You Do Know, the whole reason I became fascinated with intuition was actually off the back of having had some relationships where my gut told me, don't go there. And my head went, oh, you're just being judgmental. You're just basing this on past relationships that have gone wrong before. You should go into this with an open heart, and see what happens. And my gut was completely right. And I have also cast aside wonderful opportunities because I didn't listen to my heart and I got scared. So I think that listening to those two brains outside of the brain in your head that will talk you out or into things based on logic and reason and facts, like what job do they have, how long have they been single for, like all of this stuff that we kind of categorize as being important, that actually ends up not being important really at all. So who someone is today doesn't tell you who they're going to be in 3 to 6 months' time, and whether or not they have the emotional maturity to evolve at the same rate as you. So it's a huge conversation, and that's why I'm so fascinated by how we learn and how we know what we know.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's fascinating indeed. And even with unknowingly, it became a part of our language. Like when we talk about our heart, our gut, like you don't have guts to do it, or I went with my gut feeling. So even unknowingly, like it's in our language, in the way we speak, right?
Yeah, it really is. And, and it's the same as anything. Like when you say, oh, I vibe with this person, I'm feeling down, all of our emotions have a frequency of vibration, as does everything, that there's more space in a wall than actual matter. But what makes a wall solid is a frequency of vibration. And so we can really vibe with a person, and those vibrations that we give off, be that coming from our personality or our energy system. Some people say that they can see auras. I think it's impossible for your eyes to see an aura, but you can perceive color through the vibration. So your brain can perceive it rather than see it. I'm yet to be proven wrong, but I may be. I haven't met someone who has proven me wrong about that, but I'm always open. But I think that when there's a resonance with a person that goes more in the vibration of that person, and we can feel them. I hear people like they're making sound, which might sound strange. I don't hear it audibly with my ears, but I have a way of listening to my intuition that can tune into a vibration in somebody's character or personality. So we make these jokes about kind of like, the feeling down, or and this person's like a whinging little violin, but actually there is a squeaky sound that comes from people who moan a lot. So it's not that uncommon. So it's looking at how we vibe and connect with people based on compatibility of vibration, and that tells us a lot about how we're going to evolve with someone, and connect with them on a number of different levels, rather than just personality, hobbies, points of interest, or sexually.
Right. I love that topic. And so when we talk about relationship and anxiety, and we always think, okay, that often comes from the place of fear, overthinking, over questioning the relationship, over questioning the partner, their feelings for that person. And so that's when the topic of intuition comes like very handy. What if you can trust your intuition on what's really happening in your relationship? How can you talk a little bit of that, on how this can be useful for relationship, and how to learn to become more and better, like more intuitive?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that how it works when it comes to relationships, a lot of this is about courage. So we are living at a time where we do internet dating, and people sort of go, oh, you can't just tell something from a person just from a picture. Yeah, you can, because you can feel someone, like just looking into someone's eyes. So you always want to, you're going to respond better if somebody is actually looking into the lens of the camera, because the eyes are the windows to the soul. And you do have a yes, want to move towards feeling, and that comes from your heart, or want to move back, and that comes from your gut. And interestingly, there's an actual test that you can do with I do this on stage, it's quite fun. where you have like water in a container exactly the same as having water, or as having another container that maybe has Coke in it, say for example. And but the person doesn't know what's in each bottle because the bottles are in envelopes. And then you get them to put the envelope over their heart and their body will tip forward to the water. And then if they put the Coke, it will tip back. And in a sense, we physically have a knowing in the body that means that we will tip forward towards people that we like, or tip back. So you can test that by using kind of like, I don't know, washing up liquid in a bottle or whatever you want, but test how your body responds forward or back. And then when it comes to internet dating, but especially like when you meet someone and you just want to talk to them and you don't know why, but you're compelled, there's a feeling that you want to strike up a conversation. And most of us, through the fear of not wanting to look idiot, like an idiot, or get something wrong, we don't get into these conversations. Whereas going back into the days, because I remember them, before the internet, you'd kind of do this thing where you'd look at someone, then when they cast eye contact on you, because you can feel when someone's looking at you, kind of look at someone, they look at you, you look away. And then you look back, and then they look at you, you look away. And then eventually one of you will start laughing, and then hopefully they'll come over and start talking to you, or you go over and start talking to them. And that's how you used to do it. That's how it used to happen. Now it's all kind of like swiping.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, and I just want to caveat as well, that a lot of the anxiety is not necessarily caused by, I mean, it's such a big subject, but there's so much I want to say about it. So some of the anxiety can be helped by changing a perception that we have in our head about trying to find the one. So some of this is, I get it, if you want to start a family, you want to get married, and that's your goal point, that's something that you want, then obviously there's going to be anxiety with that, because basically the quality of your future life depends on, you know, the person you're going to meet. And we know that. And so there's going to be an awful lot of anxiety around that. If we didn't have that, and it was all about meeting somebody that we could grow with, connect with, learn from, I think love to me is about, how do I love myself when I'm in the company of somebody else? And I rate everything on that. I rate my friendships on that. Now, it might sound slightly narcissistic to love yourself, but actually, who brings out the best of me? And I think about what made the Spice Girls famous. So when you think about it, I mean, the songs were all right, but what made the Spice Girls famous was these archetypes that they played, these female archetypes. So you had Scary Spice that was slightly dominatrix. And then you had Sporty Spice that was like one of the boys. And then you had, I can't remember her name, the blonde one, but she's like Virgin Spice. Basically,
Emma.
She was kind of like, Baby Spice, but basically the very innocent one. That was it, yeah, Emma. So she was the very innocent one. I feel very sorry for Jerry, and no wonder she left the band, because she was kind of slutty Spice. Nobody wanted to be that. And then, of course, there was the unobtainable Spice, the posh one that all men hanker after but never seem to be able to get, or women for that matter. Well, when you're in a relationship with somebody, you kind of want someone who has the capacity to allow you to be all of the different archetypes that you are quite naturally, all of the different selves that you can portray, and all of the different people that you are. And so a wonderful relationship is with somebody who can not necessarily hold the space, but you love who you are. You get to play your best self. You get to be the femme fatale. You get to be fun. You get to be, because this person allows it. So whenever we're in a relationship where somebody talks down to us or criticizes us or makes us feel bad, then it's not a case of not loving them. You can love somebody who acts like that, because you may be able to see why they act like that through their own insecurities. But the person who makes you love yourself when you're in their company, that's going to be the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, because they are bringing out the absolute best of who you are. And that's really important. So that, in a sense, intuitively, is you're not listening to someone else, because we often think about intuition being about how to read other people to see if they're safe. Intuition is more internal. It's about trusting yourself to know that you can believe in yourself, that you can make good choices about other people. So it's not intuitively reading someone else to be a good or a bad person. It's about knowing that you can trust yourself. It's about knowing that you can love yourself. And it's about knowing that the person that you are with, you are safe enough to be the fullness of yourself. And that's a relationship that's going to last.
Wow, wow, I love that. So I love that what you made, like it's not so much about the like intuition as an external tool to determine like about like what anything about other person, but internal tool, and like trusting that you will figure it out, trusting whatever you're feeling is right, and so that's great. So and you've been working and writing on intuition a lot, a lot, a lot. So is there like, is it practice makes perfect? So the more you practice your intuition, the more you practice trusting your inner voice, the better you become at, or how do you become more intuitive person?
There's different levels of intuition, really, in a sense. So there's different ways in which we can do it. So some people are very somatically intuitive, so they feel it in their body. Some people it's very mental, so it might be the right hemisphere of their brain. Some people are real empaths, and it's all about the emotion that they feel. You know, and some people are very spiritual, and they're kind of in a collective consciousness. They're sort of out there in the clouds somewhere. In the UK, most of those people live in Glastonbury, but we have these different levels, and it's about finding the one that you resonate with the most. So finding the one that you naturally are gifted at, because we all have one that we're naturally gifted at, and it fluctuates and sometimes it changes. So I'm a deep thinker, so I'm very mentally intuitive. However, I am aware that there's a wonderful hormone called oxytocin. I just love oxytocin. But oxytocin is an addictive self-made chemical. We make it ourselves, but it's really addictive. So oxytocin gets triggered by things like chocolate, by being in a nice bath, by massage. It can be triggered by an awful lot of things. It's the thing that creates the baby brain. We go gooey, and we have this oxytocin, and we get it from breastfeeding. And it means that if the child is repeatedly crying throughout the night, you don't kill it, because you love it, because you've got all of these oxytocin chemicals. Now, what's interesting about that is when we find a new partner and we start sexually engaging with them, there comes a point, I've timed it to be about 3 months, but I guess it depends how sexually active you are. But after, you know, several times of having sex with the same partner, so as soon as you get the smell of a new partner, I mean, for example, your taste buds are amazing. So when you kiss for the first time, your mouth and your lips can ascertain whether or not their sperm is compatible to your egg. So if you've, and vice versa, a man can tell too. So if you've ever really like, oh, he's like, God, that guy is gorgeous, but you've kissed them and then you've been like, yeah, that kiss is really off. It's because the chemistry between the two of you in terms of procreation isn't there. It's not gonna match particularly well. So that's fascinating in itself. But when we start to be able to smell a person, you know, the pheromones on the neck, then we get to a point where we start to have this oxytocin rush. And it is this, they could do anything. They you know, the baby is crying at 3 o'clock in the morning and we do not care. They could do absolutely anything because we've got this incredible hormone rush. And also, if you have great orgasms with that person, you get even more oxytocin. So what ends up happening is we become addicted to that person. Now, if that person disappears, or we don't get to see them very often, or they don't reply to our text, just something as simple as not replying to a text can throw us into a spin, because it's the same as having like a cocaine or crack withdrawal. We suddenly start to panic. We're like, well, they haven't written to me. I haven't heard from them. What the hell is going on? And this can be even worse if the person ghosts you. You know, and you suddenly, they disappear and you don't know what happened, and you've got these oxytocin chemicals running through your system. So you will start to panic in the same way that you will panic on a drug withdrawal. So the first 3 months, you can have these highs and lows, and it's very common to misunderstand this level of anxiety to be, my God, I have never felt this panicked about someone in my life. I must really be in love with them. And the chances are you're not really in love with them. It's just the fact that the oxytocin is there, then it's not, then it's there, then it's not, then it's there, then it's not. And it makes us go slightly crazy. In a way, this is why we're told that we're supposed to have marriage before sex. Because you are so enthralled with this person, the oxytocin's going, you get married, and then 3 months into the marriage, the oxytocin goes, and you suddenly wake up one morning and go, oh shit, I've ended up with this one. And certainly I know, because I'm very, very sensitive to oxytocin, that after 3 months of being with a new partner, I call it the haircut moment. Sounds like an awful thing to say, but they get the haircut and you suddenly go, oh no, I don't know what I saw in them. And suddenly it's gone. The sexual attraction is gone, the connection's gone. Because if you haven't built real love in those first 3 months, real trust, real connection, when the oxytocin goes, then the connection goes. And the reason why the oxytocin goes is because Mother Nature doesn't really know that much about contraception, isn't really a fan. And so Mother Nature goes, well, if you haven't got pregnant, this is male and female, the oxytocin thing. So if you haven't got pregnant within 3 months, then obviously there is an infertility problem, cuts off the oxytocin, so you will go and find another sexual partner. So then, of course, so beyond that point, you suddenly go, what did I see in them? But in that particular window period, anxiety can be through the roof. And I think it's important for people to know why they have those feelings, because we can really get confused and start to think this person's clearly the one, and misunderstand negative feelings as being love. So that when we do meet someone that is constant, that is reliable, that turns up when they say they're going to do, that is very loving, that is warm and friendly, and we go, oh, I just don't think I'm that into them, because I don't have these highs and lows of kind of like ecstasy and withdrawal. I've just got constant ecstasy, so I can't feel it. It's very much like putting your hand in water that's the same temperature as your hand. You can't feel it. But God, if you put your hand in boiling water, you'd feel it. So we don't feel the ecstasy because it doesn't come with the high and the low. So it just comes with constant loveliness. So I think that's really important, because when you're quite young and you're new to relationships, you can't really ascertain what you're feeling. And I think that this also swings back very nicely to what I was saying about when you love yourself, then you also recognize, oh, I'm feeling amazing, I'm feeling terrible. Well, then you're not loving yourself. If you're then going, are they going to ring? Are they not going to ring? And it clicks us into the limbic brain of going, there's something wrong with me. I'm obviously not good enough. Oh, blah, 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 blah. That's when you've got to go, whoa, hang on a minute. Because I tell you this, it will take you longer to rebuild your lost self-esteem than it will to find another partner. So, it's so true. So if you're finding yourself going into these highs and the crash will turn you into the limbic brain to make you wonder what the hell is wrong with you. And then that will form insecurity. And if you are dating somebody who is slightly narcissistic or on a psychopathic spectrum, they will play with you like a cat with a ball. So it's really important that you have real rooted self-esteem, so that if you do find yourself getting highs and lows of oxytocin, you can literally say, look, two things. You're either clearly not into me, then in which case, if you can't see I'm amazing, jog on. So you're either clearly not into me, or if you are into me, you're clearly not emotionally ready, you're clearly not emotionally mature enough. And if you think that you're going to get me by playing games so that I'm super interested in you, because sometimes I think that this happens, and I've talked to a lot of male clients that will say, well, I'm playing her so that she really likes me, because whether or not they are intelligent enough to understand how oxytocin works, they are certainly intelligent enough to know that the withdrawal attention is addictive. So they know that that will be a way of getting you to really like them. And they may just not have the emotional maturity to realize that that is called torture and it's really rubbish. Stop it. So a woman, you know, and I'm putting it more on women because I am a woman, so you may want to interpret the male side of this for me, but you know, because this is true for men and women dicking them about just as much as it is with the oxytocin. So please do not think I am man bashing, but from from my own perspective as a woman, I think that self-esteem is so important, because when you've got self-esteem, you can literally just be like, no, this isn't how this rolls. My self-esteem is more important to me than an addictive chemical called oxytocin, which quite frankly I can go and find somewhere else, like face down in a bar of chocolate potentially, but hopefully not. In a bath, that's where you find it, in a bath. Yes. Go and get a massage.
Yes, and oh my God, I love this topic. And definitely I saw, I personally saw this playing with a partner done by both women and men. So it works and goes both ways, definitely. And what a gift it is when you connect with someone, when you find someone, when there is no need to play any games.
It's just the best thing ever. It is just the best thing ever. And that, but I do think that games are a great indication of someone's low self-esteem. If you feel you need to have to make yourself interesting, you don't see yourself as being interesting. So, you know, you wouldn't have to put that much effort into being that person. And I think, you know, and I don't think it comes from self-esteem. I think it comes from the opposite, unless the person is very narcissistic, and then it's kind of like, you know, a spectrum of mental health disorder. But mostly, I think we are frightened of having real conversations. So we ghost so that we don't have to say something unpleasant, or we don't have to work through something. And I think ghosting is an act of cruelty. I think it's awful thing to do. I think, you know, but it is certainly it's its own pandemic. It seems to be something that everybody does, and it seems to just be taken as a normal thing. And I think recovering from unanswered questions, what happened, what did I do wrong, and we tend to look at ourselves and go, what did I do wrong, how am I at fault, rather than just going, idiot. You know, it's just like just going, you know. So it's a really unkind thing to do. And you know, I mean, I'll be honest, I've done it, and you know, in the circumstances to which I have done it, I think that there has just been times when I've just gone, you're not going to get what I've got to say, you're not going to understand it, so I just don't want to say it, because if I say it, you're going to respond in this way, and I know what's coming, and I just can't be bothered to get into that. So I have done it in those circumstances, but you know, try as hard as I can not to do it, because I think it's a sad thing to do.
Yes. And so you specialize in overcoming personal blocks and irritating inner voices. So I'm curious, how big of those personal blocks that you experience when you're working with clients are the issues of lack of self-love, low self-esteem, and what's the third one? Self-love, self-esteem, and like all of the blocks. So, and worthiness. Am I worthy of that? Am I good enough? Do I deserve this? So how big, it seems to me that this kind of a block is one of the biggest ones, right?
Yeah, and I think what the block is the perception of it being a block, because I'm a very strong, independent woman, and that is a nightmare for a relationship. That is far worse than being slightly insecure, because, you know, from a heterosexual perspective, A man really likes a woman he can take care of, that he has a role in her life, that he can do things for her, that he has a purpose. And someone like me, I find it very hard to give that purpose. And I'm a victim of a generation of being told, my generation were told, don't trust men, don't rely on men, men are only after one thing, da, 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 da. So you get told, earn your own money, do your own thing. Now, all of these things are right, but vulnerability is what makes a relationship. So if you have the capacity to be able to be open and honest and vulnerable, you have the capacity for intimacy and a real depth of connection that the strong, independent woman doesn't know how to necessarily achieve, because she doesn't know how to let someone actually really take care of her. And I think that when we think about low self-esteem being a blocker to relationships, I think it's only a blocker in the terms of whether or not we feel worthy. So it's a good word that you used. Whether or not we feel worthy of love, whether or not we feel that we are really lovable. And sometimes, somebody just has to keep proving that to us and showing us that we are. I think it's a really interesting thing that we spend so much time trying to fix ourselves or trying to fix these blocks, but actually self-acceptance. I'll be completely frank with you. I am a bit of a twat, like I really am. And I am also a genius. I live on a spectrum of being both of those things. And I think that the most important thing is the self-acceptance of the parts of me that I go, oh God, I can't believe I did that, or I can't believe I said that, is to be happy about being unhappy. If you are unhappy, be happy about it, because it probably is a good indication that you're a very intelligent person. But when we judge ourselves, when we think we have blocks, when we think we need to overcome all of these things, we are chasing our tail. Because we feel it's like being unhappy about being unhappy. It's like saying, there's something wrong with me that I need to fix. So we spend all of our time trying to fix it. And you will just find layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff. And you can dig through all of that stuff if you want to. But it is our idiosyncrasies and our vulnerabilities and our quirky little habits and the things that we find interesting and the scars we have that make other people fall in love with us. It's not the perfections that make connections. It's all of these little things. And, certainly for me, I love, like when I'm in a relationship with somebody and I know the favorite things that they like to eat and I get to prepare them, and I know the things that trouble them and I get to be there for them, or I get to send them links to things that I've seen of articles that I think that they will find interesting. But it's our bruises that make us bond. It's when we recount the tales of our childhood and we go, oh my God, my mother was just like yours. It's these things that actually draw us together. So I think we should spend less time fixing ourselves and a lot more time accepting the things that we think we should fix, and know that nothing is a blocker to a relationship. That all you really need to do is remove the things that you've put in the way of your heart being open. And those things can not even the blocks of I'm not good enough, but the I feel I'm not good enough, and I'm okay with feeling I'm not good enough. And I will meet someone who will think that that's the most wonderful thing they've ever come across. So I don't have to fix anything to make myself right for the right person. I just have to accept all of these things and say that I'm scared and venture boldly into, with my eyes open, my intuition engaged, but that I don't need to feel that there's anything about me that I need to change in order to be with the right person. And even if there is a right person, what I would say is to be on the right journey, because every lover I have ever had made me the woman I am today, including the ones that were, incredibly painful. I am so grateful that I was with them, because they have made me who I am today, because I come from the perception that there is nothing wrong with me, and I'm a twat. So I know that there's an awful lot wrong with me, but I don't perceive it to be wrong. I perceive it to be human. And I think the more of us that can actually just love being human, then the more we can actually, you are biologically programmed to think you're an idiot. You just are. You're biologically programmed to feel like that. You can't fix your biology. You can't delve into yourself and fix your biology unless you want to have like a chip removed out of your head that will make you a psychopath. You can't fix that about yourself. You can accept it, and it changes everything.
Yes, this is amazing. So vulnerability, that's the thing that can solve or just help solving so many problems in personal life, in like in relationships. And this vulnerability definitely requires courage.
Yeah, huge amounts, huge amounts. And I just think this still circles back to trusting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So the courage is a lot easier when you can listen to yourself and you go, do I light up in this person's company, or do I dim myself in this person's company? Do I feel like effervescent? Do I feel, that I am my true self, the self I like the most? Do I like myself in this person's company? And let that be your guidance. I recognize the fact that not everybody's going to have a good day, and I might be in a relationship with somebody who's having a hard time, and I will carry them in that journey. They don't have to be making me feel amazing all of the time if they're not feel amazing. It's not their job to make me feel amazing. But if I feel amazing when I'm in their company, if they're having a really bad time, I can feel amazing being the person that takes care of them. So their bad time has got nothing to do with, it doesn't reflect on my emotions, because I can love myself when I'm being a caretaker, and I can love myself when I'm receiving care. So it's about having the balance of the two things, because for many of us, we don't know how to be loved. For many of us, we didn't get loved as children. And I think that there's going to be an epidemic of this coming out, because lots of parents have spent time on tablets. So where kids are looking up for reassurance, they're getting this facial expression. Nothing to do with them, but a kid recognizes a facial expression and everything is about them when they're little. So that kind of like look is a look of disappointment, it's a look of kind of, and so I think that we're going to have a lot more people not knowing how to feel or receive love, because we're glued to our screens. I'm not against the screens, but I just think that we've lost some of that human connection because of it, and especially during this time of COVID. So it is a little harder. But I got chatting to a guy swimming the other day. We just got chatting in the pool, two complete strangers chatting in a swimming pool. And having a great conversation about all sorts of stuff, putting the worlds to rights. It was just great. And those little moments are the thing that it makes just being alive just so amazing. And so I think, don't think about whether or not a relationship worked or didn't work based on longevity. I had a relationship in the swimming pool that lasted about 10 minutes. Like, connection doesn't have to last a lifetime. Yes, of course, if we're bringing a family into the world, we want that. But it really calms your anxiety down if you feel that each relationship is making you right for the right thing, is right for you, right for the next relationship, right journey, right time, right situation. Nothing is ever wasted. No relationship is ever wasted. No connection didn't work. Just because a relationship doesn't last until you're old biddies doesn't mean it didn't work. And I think that perception is also very important to understand.
Yes, as that phrase that I saw on your website, that one insight can change the course of everything. That's insight like this one, that like nothing has been wasted, no time has been wasted with this person. This relationship that I had, it hasn't been a waste. It made me who I am. And the same thing with accepting ourselves and accepting our flaws, imperfections. And instead of trying to work, like spend all your life on fixing and changing the way you naturally are, just accepting yourself and even embracing your imperfections and so-called flaws. And by embracing them, embracing vulnerability when you are with other people, just being open and transparent. Yes, that's who I am. That's who I am. And not only that, I love myself.
Yeah.
That's like an insight like this can definitely change the course of everything.
It really, really can. And also, I think one of the keys to intuitively reading the world is curiosity. And, when I go traveling, I'm so curious in a new place. I'm looking at the tops of buildings. I'm looking at everything going on, or I love a market, looking, like, oh, it's great. And because I'm curious, I'm naturally, somehow my vibration has changed to being of an open heart. And people see it. So why is it, right? You can live in one place for years and find it really hard to meet someone. And then you go on holiday and you're inundated with holiday romances. Nothing's changed, but you have. Because when you're away from home, you're curious. So I did an experiment, and I decided to be curious all of the time. So every time I left the house, I decided to be curious. Oh my God, I got asked out all the time. I kind of like, I got flirty little looks. I got flirted with by baristas when I was getting coffee. Like, I mean, I was getting free coffee a lot. So I was kind of, when they kind of like go, oh, don't worry, it's on the house. And like, amazing. Like, and all that had changed was I was curious, which allows you to have an open heart. And the two things, you can't be curious without an open heart. And it's the same with being grateful. Gratitude is really, really, really important as a tool for recovery and a tool for happiness. But when you have that curiosity, it opens your heart-led intuition. And it means that you do read the world with that lens on, which means that you're much more likely to, see somebody and want to engage in conversation. Now, I know we've got social distancing and all the rest of it, but smiles don't hurt, do they? Smiles, little sort of chit chats at social distancing. In fact, actually, I think I probably talked to more people during lockdown when I went for my run. So I'd go for a run every day. I live by the beach, which is fabulous. So I'd kind of like run down the beach, but the eye contact, the smiling, because everyone was in the same situation. I think, and I can, just those. And again, these are all moments of connection, and they add up and they take you to the right person, because the more you have these little moments of connection and curiosity, the more you have the capacity to see that vibrational frequency from the person who is going to be the best connection for where you are right now. Maybe not the best connection for your whole life, but because we change vibrational frequencies, we move through life, but the best connection for who you are right now.
Yes, that's wonderful. Becky, thank you so much for sharing with us so much wonderful insights. I deeply appreciate it. And so for people who want to connect with you and follow you, you have a website, and I know, so your website it's just your personal BeckyWalsh.com.
It's BeckyWalsh.com. That made it super easy. So yes, it's BeckyWalsh.com. I've got a YouTube channel, obviously Facebook, Instagram. My Instagram's boring, but you can have a look if you want. But and I'm really selling it to you. My YouTube channel is much more interesting, and my Facebook page is interesting as well. And if you sign up to my newsletter, there's actually a free online course in learning about your intuition. So you can sign up for that. That'll put you on my mailing list, but it'll also give you the opportunity to dive in a little bit deeper into this fascinating subject.
Yes, people, if you want to learn how to be more intuitive, who's a better person to learn from than Becky Walsh? So go through that course. And Becky, once again, thank you so much. I truly deeply appreciate your time and all the incredible knowledge and experience that you've shared with us in this interview. Thank you.
You're really welcome. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.